Hi everyone, Robert Kachiwara here. This video is titled Iconography of Colonial Discourse, the Fairbank Center for Chinese Studies. It is part of the Master of Liberal Arts, emphasis Anthropology and Archeology at Harvard University. For over half a century, Harvard University's Fairbank Center for Chinese Studies has played a pivotal role in advancing international relations, not only between China and Harvard, but between the United States and East Asia at large. The Fairbank Center has helped shape U.S. foreign policy and determine the fate of nations, developing East Asia's geopolitical situation into how we know it today. Examining the center's iconography provides insight into the values it promotes, which in turn is exported to Asia via American foreign policy. During the early 20th century, Asian studies was still a new and poorly formed field in Western academia, mostly focusing on the study of traditional texts from a humanist perspective. John Fairbank became Harvard's first full-time professor of Chinese history in 1936 and would help develop Asian studies into the social science-oriented field that we know today. Fairbank worked with Edwin O. Reischauer to co-create an introductory level survey of Asia course and went on during the 1960s to publish two early influential works in Asian studies. Since the mid-20th century, Harvard's presence in the field of China studies and of Asian studies at large has grown tremendously, due in large part to the Fairbank Center, which has helped pave the way for separate centers for Japan and Korea studies, the Asia Center, the Harvard China Fund, the Harvard China Project, the Harvard Yenching Institute, and the Harvard Yenching Library, founded by Reischauer. Located within the Center for Government and International Studies, or CGIS, one block east of Harvard Yard on Cambridge Street and Prescott Street, the physical exterior of both the Fairbank Center and CGIS blends well into Harvard's standard architecture found throughout much of the campus. The CGIS building is done in a chic modern style, though there is virtually nothing in its outward appearance that suggests it is a world-renowned center for international studies. Although the Fairbank Center's website shows two traditional Chinese Fu lion dog statues, the exterior of the center itself has no Chinese features whatsoever, particularly when compared to the extravagant Asian architecture seen at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, or UHM, along with the adjacent East-West Center. Harvard's lack of Asian, or specifically Chinese architecture, seems painfully remiss. UHM has just a small fraction of the resources that Harvard does, and yet UHM has greatly outdone Harvard in this regard. Even the Harvard BC, a Qing Dynasty stele gifted to the university by its Chinese alumni in 1936 to celebrate Harvard's tercentenary, is in poor shape, with its inscription faded and difficult to read. Harvard is still one of the world's academic leaders in the field of Asian studies, and the Fairbank Center is one of Harvard's preeminent Asian studies centers, though it is difficult to see this physically on campus. This was almost certainly a choice decision on the part of Harvard's leadership rather than due to any financial constraints or lack of opportunity, suggesting that Harvard would rather present its physical iconography as one of conformity to its colonial heritage than one of inclusion or cross-cultural exchange. Whether intentional or not, this sends the subtle message that Harvard would rather export its own culture rather than import culture, practice cross-cultural exchange, or encourage cultural relativism. This discourse of colonialism is played out in the exported policies of the Fairbank Center and its offshoots. The Reischauer Institute for Japan Studies, which was born out of the Fairbank Center, is named after the man who played a crucial role in advancing American imperialism in East Asia, which has caused numerous problems in the region up to the present day. Both Japanese and American historians have criticized Reischauer as being condescending and manipulative towards Japan, who proposed maintaining Japan's imperial system in order to use it as a puppet state of the United States. Fitting with Reischauer's condescending attitude towards Japan, the Institute for Japan Studies is, like the Fairbank Center, devoid of any unique physical iconography in its exterior that might show respect to its country of study. Iconography is indicative of values, and Harvard's lack of Asian iconography, in spite of its vast array of Asia-oriented centers, programs, and resources, is indicative of its colonial tendencies in Asian policy. Just as the exterior of the CGIS is void of any Asian influences and fits in well with Harvard's standard look, many of the policies exported by the CGIS have also taken an America-centric approach, showing little, if any, concern for the well-being of the countries and cultures they study. For Harvard to reach its ideal of veritas, it will have to continually divest from its past mistakes and make appropriate amends, including a greater emphasis on cross-cultural exchange and empathy.